The answer from God of all universes, that Big Bang theory, is still premature. And this is God's revelation, which negates the Big Bang theory as he considers it as still premature. God negates the theory of Big Bang as the theory of the creation of the universe. God's revelation is as follows. Big Bang theory has been established, for it is considered as the theory that provides the most complete and accurate explanations, and supported by scientific methods, including the observation results, and all evidences have been convincing, causing the Big Bang theory to be accepted by all scientific societies. And the model of Big Bang is considered as the last point that attained by science regarding the beginning of the universe. George Louis has introduced the Big Bang theory. According to the law of physics that has been known, the stars and galaxies continuously grow and move apart from each other. Theory of homogeneity and space isotropy support the Big Bang theory, which relies on the theory of relativity of Albert Einstein, which assures that the universe comes from one point of a big bang, or one single point that splits apart. It is understood as an accurate theory that a gigantic explosion is the only theory that can explain the origin of universal expansion in the continuous cycle. And from that explosion, its fractions then become planets, stars, galaxies, asteroids, and so forth. And all of those objects are still moving due to the power of thrust of the first explosion that is most powerful and which continuously move away from the center of the first explosion. If such is the reality of the theory of Big Bang as the origin of the universe, I would like to ask, how and until where the development of the universe will end? If everything should have a limit or maximum point, then surely there will be an end. And if it is actually very much unexpected, and it is in line with the physical of the universe, then surely there is the Almighty who is capable to limit it. According to the well-known law of physics, the stars and galaxies continuously grow and move apart from each other. Thus the cycle will always come to a maximum provision. And when it reaches the maximum provision, thus it comes to the limit. And whatever is the limitation during the development of the universe, it is surely something that should be explained. For the universe is not created to experience an ending that culminates forevermore. So it will totally extinct and will never exist anymore. For the universe is a manifestation of enormous creation, which its spaciousness is infinite, and its destiny should be absolutely existed. Therefore, its system regulation also follows the sustainable law of reincarnation. According to the theory of Big Bang, that does not acknowledge my existence as God of the universe, that the theory of universal development is always sustainable, and in its continuation, it has not been stated yet until how far is the development. Thus, if those all should end up in the maximality and the most denseness for the sake of justifying the logic of physics and astronomy, then there should be a theory that explains how is the certainty of doomsday of the whole universe when they reach the maximum and the densest development. Thus the universal objects have already reached the densest volume and have filled the whole space of the universes. As the consequence, the galaxies will collide with each other. That is so absurd. When the density of the universe should be calculated, and the flow of the theory should calculate the space, which should also keep developing. For in the expansion of the universe, there should be enough space that makes the movement of the expansion well organized systemically. For if there is not enough space, then genocide of the universe will happen. Can you imagine how dangerous is that condition if it should happen? Universe swallows another universe. Thus the cycle of life of the universe is in the initiation of the most exalted protocol, which is actually related to the officiality of my statement upon an apocalypse. I can render the apocalypse of the black hole as a balanced theory of a maximum point, which comes to its limit. The greed of black hole to prey the planets and stars acts as if no power can stop it. Will black hole become bigger and swallow any universal objects? So universe swallows another universe. Try to think about it. Actually, the scientists have been aware of the existence of black hole. Imagine if that giant of universe, the predator of universal objects, has no limitation. Actually, the limitation of the black hole is the density of energy, which accumulates inside itself. From the troubling energy turbulence inside the womb of the black hole, that is what creates the doomsday for black hole. If the development of the universe should be regulated and does not work on its own, thus the role of black hole exists as a predator of the universal objects, which have already been decrepit and will die. And if the greedy black hole should be handled, considering its energy is the most powerful, and will get more powerful in accordance with the increase of energy received from its victims. Therefore, do not let it arbitrarily have a chance to follow its greed. Accordingly, its age should be limited, thus the Big Bang Theory can be adjusted. I do not deny the theory of Big Bang as the theory of the development of universe, but not as the beginning of the universe. In the advancement, there is a discrepancy of perception that the behavior of the universe refers not to my omnipotence, but rather it is perceived that the beginning of the universe is originated from an enormous explosion. Thence, from that explosion, everything begins and grows. Whereas I state that the universe is as it is and starts not from a beginning. I exist all at once, together with the universal object, and my existence all together with all the universes, and the objects inside the universes are present without a beginning, nor will have an ending. And that can be questioned not, for it is the most true of the absoluteness. My authority as God, the most Creator and the Almighty, can be accounted for through my absolute explanation, that I am present with all of my creations from the beginning and will never end. For all the lives, I who create them, whereas the theory of Big Bang does not underlie it. I value what is mentioned as the evidence of Big Bang theory, that the universe is originated from one big boom, or one single point that breaks up. And other theory proves that radiation cannot be determined from which source, but spread evenly throughout the universe, and it is the residues of the boom, a fraction of the universal creation. As for that theory, I justify that the Big Boom has spread the remnants of the explosion evenly throughout the universe. However, it is also the early creation of the reincarnation of the universal object. From that fact, I can state it as the theory of universal reincarnation. Black hole explodes, and the outburst of its explosion then processes to become the initial of universal objects again. Thus the theory of Big Bang, I can assure it as the hyper condition of black hole that experiences its doomsday. That is Big Bang. All universal objects have a beginning and an end, and the ending actor of the universal objects is black hole. But it also has its ending. When black hole explodes, its debris can become the embryo of planets, stars, galaxies, asteroids, and so forth. That is the law of reincarnation of the universe. Verily, I am the Almighty, and my most mighty controls all lives through the law of reincarnation. The doomsday of the black hole that I convey hopefully can direct the scientist to see how the science should refer on one thing. That is my omnipotence upon anything, and my supreme spirit for the entire lives. Was the universe born or created? If it was born, there should be something that gave birth to it. If it was created, there should be something that created it. Whether I create it or make it, ask me not. So you will not ask too much. For if I would make it later on, then you will ask again on how I make it. Then if I say that I create it, even you will ask again on how I create it. Thus, just believe that I am the Almighty and the Most Creator. Human beings might have the most advanced technology, but do not ask about my omnipotence. For it is hard to imagine when I say that there is nothing that creates my creation and my universe. I am God, and God is me. However, I am not created, but the most Creator. Be certain of it, and accept that as an untouchable absoluteness. In taking care of the entire lives in the universe, I embrace the whole universal object in my womb, which is in the global shape and also rotating. Regarding the dynamic of the universal system, it is spherical and rotating. The rotating movement, which is simultaneous on the entire universal object, is a force that is absolutely established, including my embracement upon globalization of all universes. The rotation of my globality is embraced in the ultimate calculation, but it is still measurable by me. From that stipulation, there is an image of impulsive calculation or an extra explosion that is greatest and infinite, but still exists in my definite stipulation. There is no existed calculation that is not measurable by me, no matter how the echo is heard or unheard. Thus, the impulsiveness of vibration is very much measured by me, the strongest or the weakest. From the dynamic of the universal system, which is spherical and rotating, it can be imagined that every creation in the universe is surely started from one point, and that point meets other points. The positively charged particle and negatively charged particle bind together and build a new element, which then works simultaneously and develops in accordance with the positivity that is created. Thus, all objects in the universe are created by some dominant elements which react positively. From the form positivity, it differentiates one element from other element. The form elements attract each other to become molecule and then an object. Thus, it is how the created object exists in the rotation of the universe. Automatization of the rotating movement on every universal object. Actually, it is perfectly connected with my rotation and the complete role of my spirit. Such is from my statement that my shape is an enormous, gigantic sphere, and my globality rotates everlastingly. The shape of my globality can be detected through the breakthrough of the mapping of universe in 3 dimensions by the British astronomers. The scientists from University of Portsmouth made the map of 2-micron all-sky survey, redshift survey, or 2MRS, which covers the distance of 380 million years of light and 45,000 galaxies. Although the shape of my globality has not been ascertained by the scientists, now I have assured it, whilst also declaring that my globality covers hundreds of thousands times wider than what has been mapped by the experts. That is why one of my name is Allahu Akbar, God the greatest. My most greatness is infinite, and now I have given you the description of how is the greatness of mine. Thus verily there is no God that is proper to be worshipped beside me, God the greatest. Thus do not associate me with whomsoever or whatsoever, and it can only be completed after the scientists of Astronomical Society reach intergalactic civilization, and it will be studied together. After the Archangel Gabriel comes to explain much more about the universe. If you would like to know about the beginning of the universe, it can be explained that the creation of the universe is initiated by filling the universe with objects that contains integrated elements according to each of their ecosystem. And I have calculated the numbers, which will not have any problem when they reach the climax point in the infinite calculation. Thus the universal objects have already been quite a lot when I began, in accordance with the criteria of the system that I have created upon the revolvement and the development of the universe that have been determined. Inside it, I build a system of universal reincarnation, so the development will not surpass the estimation that I have calculated and created. Thereof, it is impossible to become overloaded and exceed the capacity of my globality. The rotating universal objects experience the centrifugal and centripetal forces. The intention is to make the object that is doing circular movement exist in a balanced condition. If this theory is connected with the vacuum inside a gigantic global space, then I start to create several different universal objects at the same time to fulfill the criteria of universal system later on. Thus, I calculate the centrifugal and centripetal forces accurately to fulfill the need of universal globality, which is measured in the maximal scale. A certain sized space filled with two objects that continuously develop, the space will be full accordingly. This theory is a step ahead of the theory of space isotropy, that wherever direction of the measurement in the space is done, the obtained result does not depend on the direction of the space measurement, if the space is indeed greatly stretched without any limit. Based on that theory, thus the theory of Big Bang, which is related to the development of universe, must have its maximum limit. And when the universal objects fill the space in the universe, so it reaches the densest quantity, then all universal objects in this universe become sultry and experience pattern changes that lead to the irregularity of the universe. Then it reaches its maximum level, which will cause all of them to influence each other, and explosions happen. Big bangs will occur in every part of the universe. That is how the explosion will spread as a systemic conclusion of a measurable movement as well as non-measurable movement. And I assure that there is no doomsday that will cover the whole universe. And there is no chaos and turmoil of the universe that I cannot handle. In constructivism of such theory, there is I, God the most creator and the most organizer. Thus pay attention and heed my absolute reign. About other subject, I am going to lift up the theory of general relativity. That is, any kind of movement in this universe will radiate energy. And thereof, the invention of object that creates weight and mass inside the space determines the observation of its energy radiation. In accordance with the theory, when any charged particle moves, it will radiate energy. The development of the universe will be accompanied by energy radiation and the enlargement of weight and density. Regarding the binding of mass enlargement, it consumes the space in the universe, which will regulate and connect with other universal objects. Thus all of them will reach the compaction of universe, and the radiation of the energy will be more and more powerful and will be maximized. If it is like that, where will it end? Will the universe be wrecked and extincted? Then what's the purpose of it if it all would end up like that? What's the purpose of it all to be created? Regarding the maximum level beyond the capacity, if it is possible to happen, and I mention it as the mugginess of the universe, which will instigate the doomsday of the whole universe. The developing movement of massive universal objects needs unlimited space, and the rotating movement will be more limited, for the compactness of the universal objects will narrow the space. Thus the density will reach the condition where there is no more room to move and make simultaneous energy discharge that binds together in applying harmonious togetherness in the universe. And surely all will apply in a systemic way. When all of them reach the maximum level in the infinite space of the universe, then they will need a global coverage that covers them all, so that all heterogeneous interactions will get necessary space. If there is no such kind of limitation, the system of qualification and the global internal mechanism cannot be made to regulate the system that covers all systems that move, interacting with each other in the universes. Thus there should be a coverage that is centralized as a driving force of the universal mechanism, and it is provided through my spirit's flow to the whole universe. Could the scientist imagine and calculate the subject that the enlargement of a universal object certainly have their limitation? And the limitation exists in the theory of universal reincarnation. The theory makes the development of universe has limitation, because from a beginning, a universal object will develop up to its maximum point and later come to its end. From its end, the elements of universal object will rejoin and create its form in accordance with the element's nature, which is incorporated, then it will return to the beginning, and so forth. That is the function of black hole in the universe, like a vacuum cleaner of universe. It is like a street devil in the universe, always ready to prey the victims. But it will come to the maximum satiation and lifespan that can no longer be maintained. Thus doomsday will also be undergone by black hole. Accordingly, the elements of fraction from the explosion of black hole creates another beginning. If it would be stated as a system, that its mechanism has been owned by universal intelligence itself. Indeed, when it would be stated as another theory, it means that each universal object has its own intelligence and applied by dissolving their own mechanism without willing to count its harmony with other universal objects. Thus, it will construct a new theory that is the possibility of the existence of ego of every universal object. For each of other objects has its own intelligence and mechanism. Thus, this universe becomes a battlefield, since there is an interest and ego of each one that can only be stated through anomaly condition of the universe. To consider that the universal intelligence does exist will not harm anything. But I state that this assumption does not yield in any result. And now I have revealed the awkwardness of that understanding, that actually the universal intelligence occurs, for I have made the trajectory mechanism ever since its creation and the kaleidoscope of universes, which has been well arranged and in order, in accordance with the law of nature that I create, and suitable with the stratum of physics and astronomy. And if I respond to such opinion that universal object has its own intelligence, and if a universal object would extinct, would it be able to restore its condition through its own intelligence, so it needs not to extinct? Then an innovation becomes strange if it brings not forth the knowledge understanding with comprehensive free thinking in accordance with the true definitive thinking. For independent free thinking will develop into an abstruseness that cannot be answered. And if it stands not to be in line with the spiritual way of universe, then the theory becomes useless. Such as the theory that universal object has its own intelligence. I channel it through the antagonistic way of thinking, so that it reaches the hypothesis that a universe swallows another universe. So what's the use of the universe and all the insight being created if their end can be calculated? Big Bang Theory has not calculated the meticulous system in my global rotation and my spirit's role that I distribute to all of my creations that becomes the energy of life for all. When there is an earth that is possessing the doomsday like this earth, the life of all creatures in this earth will experience fatal turmoil and annihilation, thus also affect the order of its solar system. Although the doomsday is a fact that is created as a final system, which is part of the renewal system of the universe. However, it is bordered by the existent communal life of all of the universal objects. Consider it as an incidental occurrence of internal solar system, but it has no domino effect that could cause the apocalypse of galaxy or universe. No one wishes such condition to happen. Thus it requires a power which is the most powerful, that is able to think about the system and mechanism of all things in the universe. If in fact the universe does not own an intelligence, but rather my spirit that works regulating the universal system, that is the universal intelligence. Thus there must be someone that is capable and almighty in regulating all. For if there is no one that regulates and carries out the mechanism of life system of the universe, surely the eternity of the whole universe has its mechanism. If my stipulation would not be recognized, for in fact there is always man's logical calculation that is independent toward his knowledge or innovations. And there is also an understanding about the beginning of universe, which is not related to the apocalypse of universe, whereas congruency between those two conditions is the beginning and the ending. It should be there. Thus I liken the hypothesis universe follows another universe as a consequence of the beginning of universe, which will end at the apocalypse or the ending of universe, if I do not present my explanation. Thus, that lack of preciseness will become the judgment upon my imperfection in creating. I am God who has no beginning and no ending, but I am God who is the most true and the most creator. For the sake of negating the Big Bang Theory among the scientist society, I sent down heaven from the sky and manifest an angel to become human, and I function him as a tutor of science renewal. He will explain in more detail what I have explained directly before the scientist. The Archangel Gabriel becomes a human and is identical with Leah-Eden. It should be studied. The system of duplication of Leah-Eden done by an angel who is a spirit creature can be processed to become a basic science innovation. That if an object is created, it is always preceded by the presence of spirit. Such is Eden's miracle that I will present through the appearance of Archangel Gabriel, the Holy Spirit, as human identical with Leah-Eden. I mean it so that humans' knowledge will move forward, entering the life of fourth or fifth dimensions. When I have brought down heaven, the life of human being will enter the fourth dimension of life. On the contrary, human needs to refrain from sustaining his experiments that involve resistance toward the law of nature. If man wants to create the homogeneity of intelligent man and superman, it could be tried through his technology. And I suggest that after human beings enter the changing era toward fourth-dimensional civilization, it presumably needs to be limited through my explanation about spirit, that it cannot be made as an object of trial and error, which will surpass my authority upon spirit. Do not ever wish to create a life upon human through technology that against the law of nature. Spirit's errand is beyond the reach of human. Human wishes to create a superman or the ability to disappear, or hegemony of humans cloning from DNA of genius or noble figures, whereas I possess a standard law of reincarnation from my side. I warn you that the cloning experiments are a fertile land for devil, who wishes to be born in human's world as a nature's breakthrough, which is very much desired by devil who wishes to become human. Therefore, if the cloning experiment succeeds, I consider it as a result of collaboration between man and devil that has violated the absoluteness of spirit's world, which is my complete prerogative. The discussion about spirit I will explain through interactionism of cloning, which is forbidden, for it is the knowledge that surpasses spirituality and a breakthrough toward my rights as God, who is the most creator. At least the cloning experiment has succeeded to modify the genetic of animal and plant. But try not to break through the cloning experiment into the creation of human being, for it can give a chance for evil spirit creature to get the benefit of the experiment so they could be manifested into human's world. And it will harm human being himself, for I am impossible to give blessing towards something that breaks the law of nature. The miracle of Eden is actually infinite, for it is applied to bring out the evidences of my omnipotence before the entire human beings in the world. And the evidences of my omnipotence are related to the issues of the reason knowledge, which lead to the penetration of nature. Breakthrough of nature is not only through metaphysics crime, but sometimes it is also done through the reason knowledge, such as humans cloning experiments. When I see humans start to do cloning experiments upon human, thus I retorted by presenting the Archangel Gabriel as a human who resembles Leah Eden, as human wishes to create a duplication of Einstein. So I prevent that humans will by descending down an angel to be a human and is identical with Leah Eden. Is humankind able to surpass my miracle? Such is the coming of the Archangel Gabriel to set forth the knowledge of creation upon the earliest human. I have answered the desire to know the beginning of the universe. So I also have answered the beginning of human through the manifestation of an angel to be a human. Indeed, there is no abstruseness in any creation, as long as it follows the system of law of nature. Thereof, the Archangel Gabriel will come to renew the knowledge and skill, which has less benefit and profit, and to indicate the things that should be increased and the matters that should be left behind. And he will bridge the existing technological science with the one that can be utilized in the life of intergalactic civilization that soon will be entered by humankind in this century. Thus, it is one of my blessings that I have scheduled. Actually, if humankind is willing to improve his knowledge, it is better to be done through holy intelligence. Thus, I shall bless his knowledge, and I will show the utmost and the highest knowledge universe-wide, for I am that universal intelligence. And I who create life upon all universes, and everything inside them, and all creatures that live inside. I who give life upon all of my creations, for I am God, the owner of all spirits, and the most regulating of all. I who give spirits to all creatures, and regulate the life of all. The Noble Quran, chapter Maryam, verse 65.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbus samawati wal ardi wa ma bainahuma fa'budhu wastabir li'ibadatihi hal ta'lamu lahu samiyya. Sadaqallahul azim.
The Noble Quran, chapter Maryam, verse 65. Lord of the heavens and of the earth, and of all that is between them, so worship him, and be constant and patient in his worship. Knowest you of any who is worthy of the same name as he? And it is the reincarnation of Mary, that is Leah Eden, who writes down my negation toward Big Bang theory, when it is considered as the theory of a creation of the universe. And I also give explanation regarding the Spirit's embracement. And this is the literal meaning of what is implicitly written in chapter Maryam. And related to this explanation, I cited also the Noble Quran, chapter Al-Anbiya, verse 91.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wallati ahsanat farjaha fanafakhna fiha min ruhina وجعلناها وابنها آية للعالمين. صدق الله العظيم.
The Noble Quran, chapter Al-Anbiya, verse 91. And we blessed the woman Maryam, who guarded her chastity. We breathed into her of our spirit, and we made her and her son a sign for the universes. From this chapter Al-Anbiya, verse 91, it is clear that we acknowledge Mary or Maryam as the woman that we sanctify meticulously, so she could guard her chastity. And we stated that we breathe into her of our spirit Jibril. Such is the destiny of Leah Eden at this time, which her heart and mind are lighted by the Archangel Jibril. He guides Leah Eden to pass through her destiny until she is able to declare heaven with him. And we make her as the one who explains about the universe for me, as now she is conveying to the world society my guidance unto her that Big Bang Theory is still premature. And I bring her inner sight to imagine my shape that is spherical and rotate, which embraces the whole universe within my most globality, by providing a metaphor of the theory of orange that is cut into half. Such is my promise unto Mary, which is applied to her reincarnation, that is Leah Eden. We made her and her son a sign for the universe. Thus she is whom I bless to open the secret of the beginning of the universe, for the sake of negating the Big Bang Theory, which is still premature, as I have promised that to her, through chapter Al-Anbiya, verse 91. Do you know anything the same as what I know? And this is my explanation, that I who give spirit to all universal objects, so they would live dynamically with the mechanism that I regulate by myself. And there has never been a man who knows how I started this universe, for it is in my embracement, which always exists and will never end, since I create the law of universal reincarnation, as I also create the law of reincarnation for the destiny of all of my creatures. This is the end times, which I enact my court of justice and my judgment. In my most justice, there is a principle of law of reincarnation and the changing of nature for each creature, in a measurable stipulation for each of them, so that the law of reincarnation will narrate my most justice for the universe and for all of my creatures.